You know what I mean?
And look at, we're live.
And we need to have
Just
a
like
live
that.
thumbnail. That's what we were just talking about.
We
We
need
need
to,
to come up with a permanent thumbnail, live thumbnail.
yeah, absolutely. I think we need to have like, we need to get all of the UTG characters like done like on Mount Rushmore.
That'd be great.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got
Live
we got
TikTok.
now, yeah.
Nobody's
there's
in
nobody
here, though. We
only
got thumbs up.
one person, one thumb. We already got a thumbs up. Bill McKeisko, what's happening? George Bonnie. George used to be first. Now he's like never first anymore. Nicholas, you snooze, you lose, George. He treated you. Nicholas Fisher, what's happening? Uncle Squirrel, Abel D, James Elliott, Terrence Seymour, Nathaniel Manzies, Mitten Made Muscle, 0. Buck does it. What's happening, Buck? Joe K, Dickie Farley, Seabolt, Sons of Automotive Adventures, Matthew. Look how good I am at this. Matthew,
I'm terrible at it.
Will Chowie, Crazy Coffee, Hately Motorsports. What's happening to Hately Motorsports? Jason Fitzrick, Michael Miller, Hubie's Garage, Craig Cheeto. Look, I ran off
you
the
guys
bottom
can't
of
even catch up.
Dickie Farley, Donald Davidson. Top of the morning to you guys. What's happening, everybody? It's Sunday night. It's raining out, and we're here to talk about.
It's not Sunday. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday night. It's raining out, and we're here to talk about
Tech stuff.
and the no-name nationals. So always got to talk about the no-name nationals.
First and foremost, there's no smacking the table.
We will not smack the table.
That's what ended the feed last week and
the week
crashed our
before.
internet.
Right. 2
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row, we smacked the table and shut this bad boy down. So we're not going to do that now.
Yeah, no name nationals. I finally sent John Wilburn the aerial view overhead map I've been working on of Jeffers Motorsports Park. It shows where everybody parks and pits and where troll seating is at, where the spectator gate is, where the participant gate is, the whole 9. It's on there.
So do you have pitting specifically like for reclusive characters?
No, but like I told you, we already had one that we found it was the perfect one for you. It's actually inside of 2 billboards that are on a 90-degree, and there's literally like an open spot in the center. It's like big enough for a trailer, and we thought that's where Tony would want to pit.
Well, I told Kathy, I said, it depends. If you guys want me to announce, I'll be there.
That's what I thought you were going to be there to announce.
Why not? I was waiting for you and John Ed.
Actually, we're getting ready to do the announcement lineup for this week. So, and you were one of the characters I needed to discuss with.
Okay.
I needed to talk with, but
all right.
But
if I'm going to announce, I'll be there for the weekend. But if I'm not going to announce, I'm going to roll the car off, race Casper, drive it right from the finish line back onto the trailer.
Do you think it's going to go onto the trailer? Do you think it's going to make it?
Coast. I'll leave the trailer in the shut-off area, so I can probably coast
Just
and have enough momentum to get up the ramps. Right. I'll have Kathy sitting in the truck waiting, in gear.
with it running warmed up. That's what I always liked about you remember the I don't even remember what they call them. You remember the trailers that had no ramps and they would pivot on the center?
Sure.
Okay. That's what I always used to like about those, because guys would leave them pivoted up when they get off, right? And then when they go to load it up, they just like freaking drive it right up, like slam it right up on there, right? And then the whole trailer tilts forward, clicks into place. You get out, you put your straps on, and you're gone in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, electric versus manual choke. Well, Smacky's Garage, it depends what you're shooting for there. If it's a daily driver and you don't want to screw with it, electric is always, I find, to be better.
Who's driving the car? That's the question. Because if you're driving, if I'm driving the car, no choke at all. Because I know, feather the throttle, just keep it running for a few seconds till the valves actually start to maintain a little heat, and then she's good to go, right? If somebody else is driving, or a manual choke, let's say you live in the Arctic. Let's say you're in the Antarctic.
An Arctic dweller.
Right. And, so yeah, manual choke is a good thing to have. But if it's the kind of car where you got to throw the keys to somebody else, let's say your wife, your girlfriend, valet parker, whatever it happens to be, right? then you want to have an electric choke on there because you don't have to explain to anybody. You just pump the gas twice and turn the key.
Being a car guy, manual choke has never bothered me one bit, right? I mean, it's like literally like the easiest thing in the world to do. Start it up, it'll run great for on the choke for a while. When it starts to sputter and run like shit, just open the choke up. It's like that simple.
Let's see. Pirate Greg, love the show, Tony. iPhone, have never been a motorcycle guy, but I get what you're saying about him in this day and age. Everybody's going to be a motor, whether they like it or not. Even you, Mr. Will. Mr. Will's going to be like, I'm telling you, he's going to be like, 2 years from now, he's going to be like, all motorcycles. I got motorcycles everywhere. Screw these cars. You watch. Mr. Will's going to be all about motorcycles.
Abel D says, Dallas, check your Instagram DM. Sent you a video of my pusher trailer. Still just a regular trailer, but was able to tow it to get it registered before it turned into a pusher. Oh, this is the one where the guy was going to power the trailer.
Oh, okay.
Right, and I think this is where we were like, oh, dude, that's a no bueno. You want a jackknife situation? That's how you do it.
Right. Let's see. Mr. Will is laughing, but we'll see. We'll see, Mr. Will. Just put a scat crank for a 440. What is an acceptable amount of taper? You mean run out, right?
If it's on the crank, it would have to be, well, not just run out, but maybe the journals are round, or I mean, because this is what I'm thinking of is taper, right?
Well, taper is a cylinder wall thing,
right? But I don't know what he's calling taper, but since he's talking about the crank, I'm assuming that it is something to do with the rods or the main throws.
I don't know. Let's see if he can. J Malone manhandle the choke. Use your hand to block the carb. There you go. I don't know. Let's see if he gets specific about it.
What you cooking says, what spark plug would you recommend for a Chrysler 318?
I use Autolites. What is it, 60, 68, 67, whatever. I use whatever they have listed for the 340. I just buy them in bulk.
Gary Davies is saying taper on the rod journals. Now I've seen it where the fillets on the ends, like where they cut it,
right,
are jacked up to where they'll bind the rod bearing.
There should not be any taper. Like
zero.
I don't even think there's a I got a service manual just on the other side of this wall. I should go get it. I don't even think there's a spec for taper
for allowance.
Right.
It should be round and true.
Yeah, it should be zero.
Even if it's like undersized, it still should be round and true.
Right. No taper, zero. Let's see. Joe K, if the outside of the engine block has layers of rust flaking off like a croissant, any reason to be concerned? Just wire wheel down to clean metal and repaint.
Yes. That's what I would do. Wire wheel down to clean metal and repaint.
Yeah.
I mean, if it goes past the clean metal into the water jacket or something, start looking for another block. Usually when you see that though, it has something to do with it's been leaking coolant. Right? I've seen them to where they leak coolant and they freaking dig into the block like that.
I've seen those in like coastal environments.
Oh, where it's got a high salt.
Yeah, like if you're anywhere on the Gulf Coast, right? Florida, right? On the water. Yeah, I've seen them rust like that. Spider-Man is saying road motorcycles for 5 years. Never will get another one with all the clowns on the road today. Bro, that's where the sport is. Come on. I'm actually doing a video on that. There's a concept called psychotherapy, and I'm actually going to do a video on it. And basically why all of those psychos and texters and people who are trying to kill you are actually good for your mental health. I know, right? It's a twist. I got it covered. Yeah.
Oh, no, I got nothing for that. I 100% agree. I'm scared in a car, right? Because I see people doing dumb crap all day long, especially on these big road trips to and from. I'll see people texting and driving with their knee while eating a sandwich.
Oh yeah, and putting their makeup on at the same time.
You gotta be kidding me, right? Like, I mean,
guys and girls, it's weird.
people used to freak out when you ate a sandwich while driving, right? Now you're eating a sandwich while texting and driving with your knee. Get out of town.
Holy jeez, jumping Jesus! Kiwi Classics is here. Kiwi, what's happening, brother man? I'm borrowing the harmonic damper off your engine. I just thought to let you know.
Is this for your 383 for Slaghammer?
Yeah, I thought I had. I don't have any. I have a 6-pack.
What about the one on the 361?
I guess I could pull it off of there. I was trying to leave that intact. No, I'll replace it, obviously. I just need one right now. Joe K, the kids do wheelies down the main road in traffic. So do I.
I know you don't do like Facebook and all that stuff. Man,
I hate
you should
Facebook.
see what happened to me this past weekend. I was driving to an event up in Iowa.
Yeah.
And you know my white Ford truck with the manual in it?
Yeah.
I dropped it down from 5th to 4th at I-64 and I-70 interchange in St. Louis, and the whole shifter came off of my hand.
Nice. That's
Right.
a Ford thing.
And it literally broke the shifting handle. It work hardened it to the point where it just broke off.
What kind of shitty metal are they using?
It's 3/4 an inch thick, whatever it is. I'm like, holy crap. And I reached down and I thought it was in gear, and I went to go and it was just revving up, and I'm like, oh shit, it's in neutral. So I did the next dumb thing, pulled over to the side of the freaking bridge and tried to knock it into a gear, which I should have just pushed the clutch in and tried to knock it into a gear as it's rolling, right? No, I did it from a standing start, going up this bridge in the middle of fucking like St. Louis rush hour. Everybody's honking at me,
Lots
like
of slipping.
lots of waving, smiling, happy faces, and I'm trying to row through the gears into the 2-inch nub sticking out of the floor. So it was fun.
Throttle Davidson. Harleys and Mopars go hand in hand. I'm not really a Harley guy. I have two of them, and I got to tell you, my last resort bike. I'm trying to get rid of everything. The one I would keep is my sports. I'm a sports guy. I love Sportsters, but I'm not really a Harley Davidson guy per se. You know what I mean? I love all motorcycles. I'm different with cars than I am with motorcycles. Cars, I kind of narrow myself down. Motorcycles, I'm all over the map with them. I love them all.
Oh, Levi's here for his weekly update. He's only got 113 more subs to go from hitting his 500. He can't wait to get there. And he's asking if I fixed my shifter yet. No, I actually found a new old stock one, an OEM one, right? Brand new, 4 part number on it. Yeah. And so I nabbed it up. It was $85. I had to bring it from Canada though, so shipping was like hellacious, like $45 or something
for a shifter.
But it was it's OEM, not used. Should go for another. I mean, that tranny had a 320,000 on it when I had it rebuilt and then put it in the truck. So it's went 140,000 on it now. So it's probably close to 500,000 miles.
Did you ever had a Honda CT90 Trail or 110 Trail? I never owned them. I rode them, but I am thinking about hunting down a 125 Trail.
Any of the trail bikes are freaking ridiculous expensive these days.
I know. Throttle Davidson, I have a handful of iron heads. I love them. I have a 61. I don't know if you follow his channel or not, or you just come in for the lives, but I have a 61 that I did a couple of videos on, and I have my 02. And the 02, it's an 883R, is the last resort keeper bike. And yes, I know it's a turd. People are like, it's a turd. I know it's a turd, but I love it so much. So that would be my last resort. The last thing I would let go was that bike.
So Dickie Farley says, just thought I would let my crew know that I might be trading for a one owner, less than 100,000 miles, 84 Pontiac Grand Prix, 305 V8 power
really
windows,
nice.
Really nice and clean.
I had one of those, man. I had one. It was white, burgundy top, burgundy interior. That was a nice car.
Well, I'll tell you what I liked about the Pontiacs. Those era Pontiacs, the dash on them was so freaking cool.
Yeah, everything was round, right?
Yeah, and pod style gauges.
Yeah.
And the neat thing was I nabbed a Pontiac Grand Safari wagon. It was a '79, and we put a Pontiac 400 in it. It had originally had 301. Put a Pontiac 400 in it, and that wagon would scoot, man. That was a good running wagon. Yeah, G body shuffle for sure. I love them.
David Kaitola, why no pockets on merch? Because our reptilian overlords would not be pleased. Pirate Greg said about the poor old Pontiac going to get cut up. Yeah, I know. I just checked. I was just looking at comments before we went live, and one of the guys who works at the firehouse saw the video and he commented on the video. He says, "I'm one of the guys who's going to be cutting on that car. I'll send it out with the utmost respect." So I mean, what are you going to do?
Oh, Rabid Transit Garage asks, how much spray would you put on a stock 318 poly? All of it. Lots of it.
That's a pretty bulletproof bottom end, man.
Well, didn't Steve Magnante did an article in Hot Rod Magazine in probably like 1997 on that exact thing? Well, it wasn't a poly, but it was a 318 or early 318.
Yep.
And he sprayed it, and I want to say the ignition gave up at 250, right? But the motor was still hanging in there. So then he put an ignition system in it, and it made it up to like 350 or 375 before it started spitting rods out.
Yeah, well, those polys got all good stuff, man. Forged rods, they got
Steel crank.
Steel crank.
Man, that's why you should build a screamer out of one.
I have nothing to put one in. And the head
Slag
on the
hammer.
choke point. Slag hammer is already set up for big blocks. Moselle Parts, Dallas, did you go to the Buick meet at Beach Bend? If so, did you race?
No, I didn't race, but I was there, and I won a race. And now, while I was there, the the Buick crowd hasn't changed in 25 years, and I want to go there and shut some people up or open their eyes a bit. I think is what it is, right? It's more like a vendetta kind of thing. Because if it isn't a 455 or a Turbo Regal, they can care less, right? But I want to show up with a small block and just.
Dallas, it's about time we face the facts, though. It's about time we face the truth.
What's that?
Both of us are afraid to race. We talk a good game.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but I'm afraid.
I'm a chicken shit racer.
Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, I'll be there next year with my 63 special, super stock special. And I'm going to sidestep the clutch at 6,700 and just watch it freaking twist into a pretzel.
UB's Garage Rate at 67 CT90. Great bike. Wished I still had it.
Wayne Buzzle says, Dallas and Tony, did you ever see a Valiant Signet 200?
Yes.
I believe that Dizzy Izzy on here has one of those, doesn't he? And his was a factory race car. I think that's what he said. His was a factory, like a road race car.
I've never heard of anything like that, but who knows?
Yeah, it was I want to say it was a 170 slant car, and it fit some weird economy class, and that it got raced for like 20 years.
UB's Garage. Have you seen? I don't remember the channel. It's one of the motorcycle channels, but they took a new Trail 125 and a CT90, and they drove them all the way across Alaska. This thing went 1,000 miles flat out. Okay, like just flat out for 1,000 miles, and then to follow that up, they did another video where they tore the bike completely. It was one of the ASMR videos where they tore the bike completely apart and rebuilt the whole thing. So if you're into Trail 90s, man, that's you got to watch those two videos.
Well, flat out, could you imagine that? Like how worn out you would be at the end of that day.
But the bike was going strong.
Well, I'm sure it was fine, but I mean, like, imagine you flat out on the road. How would your senses be after just 8 hours or 10 hours of that, right?
Well, you gotta realize flat out on that is like 48 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
But here's the thing: after about 20 minutes, your wrist hurts
because
it's
wide
like,
open.
Come on.
I used to have an old Indian dirt bike, and it would only go with 45, and it was only 100 cc. But I mean,
yeah,
I rode it all over Central Illinois.
Mopar Al is in the house.
Oh man,
Al.
I'm surprised he's not out there working on Slag Hammer.
Yeah, well, he leaves occasionally to
sleep.
No, not even.
He
No,
doesn't sleep.
no, he just leaves to leave and then he comes back. Just so he can,
He
he can say
refreshes
that I'm not
himself.
here all the time.
He refreshes
Yes,
himself.
he replenishes himself somehow. And then he comes back.
What's weird is it always happens at night, and he always has blood stains on his shirt.
Yeah, there's always something weird going on there.
Yeah.
And the flies. But anyway, our big package came. I guess all of our stuff came from Summit. So, and your seatbelts here. He insisted on putting seatbelts in the car. I'm like, what the hell are you going to put freaking seatbelts in the car for? He's like, oh, I think we should have seatbelts. I was like, you son of a bitch.
Just lap belts, right?
That's what I said. I said I got a lap belt. He says, what about the passenger side? I says, fuck the passenger side. What are you putting a belt on the passenger side for?
Cycle World took a Trail 125 on the Baja.
Not to race, so just for evaluation. Yeah, the Trail ones. I mean, so I have a Super Cub, right? And I love the Super Cub. It's such a fun little bike to scoot around a neighborhood with. And that's all it's good for, really. It's good as a neighborhood bike. But I really want a Trail 125 also. So,
Doug Narton wants to know how big is Al's package.
It's big enough for to hold the mufflers and the other stuff that we ordered. He wanted mufflers too. I'm like, what the hell are you gonna put mufflers on a thing for? And he's like, I want mufflers. He was like, fine, we got mufflers.
You should have some. Did you get cherry bombs at least?
They're I don't even know what the hell they are. Al, what did we buy? I don't remember. You want to open a box? We can do an
unboxing live.
Yeah.
It's our Summit order, and then there's like a slip in there that's got like 20 things back ordered.
Yeah, stuff I ordered back in 2019 that's finally gotten here.
My favorite saying is that Mike Batista says mufflers are for the weak. My favorite saying is turbos are my favorite muffler, right?
Cherry bombs. He's saying we got cherry bombs.
Sweet, that's what you needed. That's what it should have on it.
Okay. Bush D, Tony, have you ever ridden one of the 6-cylinder Honda CB Super Sports? That's a CBX. I was thinking about buying one and didn't know how good of a bike it is. I tell you what, I've never ridden one. I know people who have. Everybody raves about the bike, but don't buy it as a rider. It's really a collector's item. Don't go there.
Rapid Transit Garage wants to know purple hornies on Slaghammer. Do they even sell purple hornies anymore?
Yeah.
Do they really?
Yeah, but the purple hornies there was a reason we didn't get the purple hornies. I don't remember what it was. Al would remember. Al knows everything. I just go along with the program. I'm serious. I just here. Tell
just
me what
the money
is.
guy. You're actually the money guy.
That's it. I'm not right. How weird is that?
I know you were the guy that was always waiting for the money guy to cut the check for your funny car.
Right.
Right. And now you're the opposite. You're the sponsor.
Glass packs forever. Yeah. UB's Garage, my buddy's dad had 2 Honda CB750s, neat bikes. I think they had 4 McCuneys, they were fast. They did. I had one. I had a 81. I don't remember. 81 is years ago. CB750C. It's the one that's got the sculpted tank and the step seat. And I put this giant fucking windshield on there. So it was like just because it was my winter bike.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It was a bike that I rode during
the winter.
Yeah, when things got. I had so many warrants back when I lived in New York. I couldn't drive bikes. I would drive cars rather. So I had to ride motorcycles because no way to get away from the cops. So for a couple of years, right, all I did was ride motorcycles. My winter motorcycle was for a couple of years was this giant CB750 with a giant windshield on it, right?
Uh-huh.
And I missed that bike. And we were just talking about yesterday. I don't want this isn't a story really wants to.
All right.
But the most scared I've ever been in my whole life, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What was the most scared you've ever been?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the hand. I'm sure I've been super duper scared, freaked out. Oh, I know what it was. I didn't smack the table though.
No.
I was like 15 years old.
Right.
I had my little Indian dirt bike, and I was riding around the neighborhood, and I came to a stop at a stop sign, and I looked over, and the girl across the street was looking out the window at me. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a burnout on this Indian, right? Rev it up, dump the clutch. There's a truck in front of me, right? And I mean, it's going this way. And I'm like, oh, crap. I didn't know what to do. just dumped the bike right there, runs over the front wheel, the truck does. And I'm like, I got up, and I mean, you're like this far away from getting run over, right? I was shaking really, really bad. That's probably the most scared I've ever been.
I had that CB 750, right?
Mhm.
And I had to go to Brooklyn for something, right? Which meant I had to go over the Verrazano Bridge.
Okay.
All right. And the lower level of the Verrazano Bridge is this greening. Okay.
Oh, right.
Well, this was like in February, and an ice storm started happening as I'm on my way there, right?
Oh, so the grate turns into a giant bucket of ice.
So it's dark, okay? The wind is just whipping, right? It's icing, okay? It's not raining, it's just icing, okay? And I decided to take the bottom level of the Verrazano Bridge,
Okay.
okay? Because I figured, well, the top level is going to be really dangerous. The bottom level will probably be okay, right? So I get on the bridge and I hit that grating and there's no traction. The wheel is just spinning, okay? And I'm like, all right, what do I do here? Well, there's no shoulder or anything, right? And I look in the mirror and there's a line of cars directly behind me, okay? Like there's no slowing down either. So now I'm committed to this. And it's a long ass bridge, goes up like this and down like that, right? And the whole way I rode dragging both of my feet on the grating, okay? Like just teetering back and forth, back wheel spinning, just about full throttle, right? Right, just to keep this thing running, right?
Right.
With this line of cars just right on my ass. I cut off the other man as soon as I found a place to pull over. I was just this.
Yes, I know that feeling. Yes. Wait, what's funny is like you're in trouble because when you see the front tire kick over like this and it's spinning as you're moving forward, but it's going that way, but you're still going that way.
Yeah.
That's the kind of crap you were dealing with. I can imagine.
The whole way, man. The whole way. Magnaflow. Who's talking about Magnaflows? What do we have? Aristocrats in here?
It's a Buick GSX. It's got to have something nice on it.
Yeah, no, yeah, they are nice mufflers, but they're mufflers like header. They don't make header mufflers.
Oh, Ari's here. Ari's been cheering me on my Mr. Rodder's neighborhood channel.
Has he?
Yeah, I posted a picture today. I was porting that intake manifold, and it started raining, and I got like literally a third of the way done. Man, the casting on this thing is so bad, right? Line up the gasket with your die cam on there, scrape it out. It's only like 3 of the 4 sides of each port are visible to scrape anything. Some of them are so bad that it's bigger than the gasket, right? And you're like, oh my God, how am I going to fix that? And I look at it like, well, I guess JB weld and bring it back down to the normal gasket size. But I don't know how long that's going to last.
See, MMM. What's that mean?
I don't know. Mitten made muscle, maybe.
Doug Dunn says he's not an
muscle?
aristocrat. The spiffy exhaust was on my truck when I bought it, including the long tube headers. Motorcycle tow service and cycle man towing. That's a long title. Is the Magnum better balanced than the LA? I don't think so. They're about the same. They have the same sloppy assembly line balance job that all of those. Yeah, they're fine. Jason Whaley, what about the early V65 Magna? I got one running and got on it. Next thing I know, I'm going 130 miles an hour and throw crap. These tires are 30 years old. Damn, that thing was fast. They are fast. Now, I prefer the VMAX. The VMAX. I always started the Magna as like a poofed up VMAX. But either of them, any V4 is going to give you a serious ride.
Craig Chitto asks, anyone heard from Mr. Vizar? I have not.
I have not.
Has it been gone a while?
Well, the guy who helps him out there, technically Marvin, died.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was 58 years old. He had a heart attack, and but no, I haven't heard from David. Although Andy pops in, Andy talks to David like every day. If there's anything wrong with David, I'm sure we would have found out.
Yeah, and Andy hasn't said anything.
No.
Los Cadaver says he's in fear. I lost my 3/8 ratchet. It's in the intake manifold.
Jason Powell, when's Bottle Rocket hitting the track again? Just tuned in. The No Name Nationals. We're racing Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage with Casper.
Well, you're not going to have any test hits on it?
Well, yeah, but not at the track.
Oh.
We'll be doing that out here. But yeah, the No Name Nationals is when that car is going out again. How's Andy in the GTX? Andy just messaged Kathy yesterday, I think it was, the day before yesterday. And to know that he got in the car and took her for a ride. And I was, wee. Andy's a great guy. I think he wants to do another Hemi project at some point, but we haven't talked about it yet. Eddie Tucker, how much should a daily driver quality two-door 63 to 66 Valiant cost in today's market? Daily driver quality, I think you're probably looking between like $3,000 and $6,000.
I saw something today that made me think of you, that I know you would want it as soon as you saw it.
I don't want anything.
Oh, yeah, that you do. It's about the same body style, like that fuselage body style, like Bottle Rocket.
Okay.
Okay, but it's a wagon. It's a wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's slant 6 wagon, 3 on the tree even.
Wow, where'd you see that?
It was on Facebook Marketplace. It's all red, but it's not the what is Bottle Rocket is Plymouth
Coronet.
Dodge Coronet. So what's the Plymouth version?
Satellite.
Okay, I think it's a satellite because it has a different. It's like the same body style, but it has a different grille, right?
Okay.
So
yeah,
and the headlights are right next to each other.
Yes.
Like all of them.
That's currently on Marketplace?
Yeah.
What was you looking for?
I don't remember. I think it was like $4,000 or something, which I thought was
that's reasonable.
It is reasonable for a running driving car, and it's a wagon. I just thought it would be kind of neat because that's something that you could literally get on the interstate and run 65 miles an hour with, right?
Absolutely, all day long.
Right.
And knock down 18 or so miles per gallon, 18, 20 miles per gallon.
And have a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Have a towing capacity of a truck.
Andy will start the next Hemi project when he can finally find some NOS engine oil. Don't put it past him. Don't put it past him. He'll find it. Andy wanted nothing but the best. Like he spared no expense and no measure putting that thing together.
Well, I mean, if you're going to spare no expense, that's the car to spare no expense on, right? That's my opinion. I mean, there's so few of them out there.
Kinsley's T6 Miracle, thank you for the super chat. NV 4500 with a Magnum 360. Bell housing broke right at the starter. I welded a brace just temporary. Any experience with this issue? Not on that transmission. I mean, I've had, bell housings break in all different places.
The weakest spot is going to be that spot, though. Because isn't it kicked out for the starter right there?
It's kicked out for the starter, and there's no lower support. Well, there's supposed to be. There's supposed to be lower supports from the bell housing, from the side of the block to the bell housing, but it's broken at the starter.
I don't know. Back or something, and it cracked it.
I don't know.
Use it to tear the teeth off the starter, though, if that's the case.
I don't know.
I've never seen one crack at a starter.
I'd have to see it, man. I'd have to see it. Ginja, I've heard you mention that you use your Rotella straight 30 weight. Was that just for break-in periods, or do you run that in all your cars all the time? Yeah, all the cars all the time. Once they're past their break-in period, Rotella has enough zinc to do the job.
I don't do the straight 30 weight. I normally do like the
1040.
I do the 1040, and if it's something I put a lot of miles on, like when I was driving the Suburban all last year for the AHRA events, I was putting the 540 T6 in it, which still has tons of zinc, but it's a synthetic. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. I use a 1540 all season for that.
1540, that's it.
Yeah. The 540 I put in at the wintertime.
But there's also the Delvac has got zinc in it.
All the diesel motors.
Just literally, just get a deal. Whatever deal you can get on oil that's labeled as diesel oil. If it's diesel oil, it's got enough zinc to keep your.
Well, the best way to do it,
happy.
I found out, is you go down to Tractor Supply and
Right.
you can buy that Delvac or even the Rotella T in a 5-gallon bucket.
Right. Yeah, you get a good deal with that too.
Yeah.
UT, will you ever do a diesel project? Probably not. I mean, unless somebody brings me a diesel project and says, "Hey, let's work on this."
And,
I'll
and diesel
go
drops below $6 a gallon.
Oh, jeez. Mr. Will wants to know what it costs you to fill up the Suburban these days.
Oh, I don't know. It hasn't been going anywhere, but it is 40 gallons. So 40 gallons times whatever your price is. My white truck holds more gas than that. It holds 50. So that one's been painful. It was $140 or something to fill it up.
Mike Batista says, all old school American V8s, I'll use 20W50. It's a little on the thick side, no?
Yeah. I don't use 20W50 in any of mine.
Match Race Madness. Who's Match Race and what?
We're talking about Match Race.
Fab Race Mod Repeat. Said Match Race Madness with exclamation marks.
Oh, all right. Well, that's kind of ironic. I had a race called Match Race Madness.
That used to be a section in Superstock in Drag Illustrated.
Yeah.
Match Race Madness. Please answer Benjamin C's question. Benjamin C, UT Torflight question. Will pre-65 904 or 727 accept a later converter? Oh, God, I don't remember what the cutoff year is on that with the splines, because there's a difference in the splines. And then you've also got the difference in the hub, where the earlier transmissions use a smaller diameter hub on the 904s. Somebody in there will give you an exact, I know that somebody in here watching this right now knows the exact interchange for you.
Ari says he was considering running 2050 just for summer over here. Traffic and high ambient temp and all that, but 1540 seems adequate. 1540 is fine for me. The 2050 I think is a little thick unless you have race clearances, right? Like unless you're over like, let's say 2000s on the rod, that's when you start to really put it in the thick oil.
Let's see. Jody Calhoun, I remember when air was free and diesel was half the price of gas. Remember that?
The 80s, the 90s.
Conrad Bosworth is having fun tonight.
Good, yes. Good. That's why we're here.
We're here for you, brother.
Yeah, we brought all the fun. We brought the buckets.
Fun. I said this is for Conrad. Remember you brought in that bucket? I said, what's in the bucket? You said fun.
Fun.
And then I said for Conrad, and you said yes. Before times.
The stove bolt is so worn, it probably does have race clearance. Oh man, you're messing with a stove bolt. Don't those things have? That was the first Chevrolet engine with Babbitt bearings, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I probably would run 2050 in that.
Doug Nard, when I started playing with diesels, gas was 99 cents a gallon. Diesel was 66 cents a gallon. That was a long time ago. Yeah, if you go back to the day when they were starting to push diesel cars, like when we were doing the diesel automobiles, the big deal was how cheap it was to run one of those cars.
Well, and the thing was, diesel was a byproduct of making gasoline. It was the leftover crap after you refined it, right? So I still don't know how diesel is more than gas. That's absolutely not even possible.
That's because all the taxes they lop on top of it.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of taxes and fees.
They just want to hit the truckers, right? You hit the truckers because the truckers got to buy a lot of gas or a lot of diesel.
But that's on-road diesel, right? What does off-road diesel go for?
Oh, you mean like non-taxed off-road diesel?
Right. What's the cost?
I don't know. It's probably considerably cheaper. That's the red diesel.
Anybody have an answer for that? What is non-road diesel go for these days? because they refine it more now? I don't know about that.
No, because they're dumping in a bunch of that biodiesel crap. That's most of them are mixed B20, and it probably is cost ineffective to do that, so they jack the price. But
Unfinished project saying off-road diesel tax is coming soon. Coda and movements. Watch Dan from I Allegedly. He knows what's up on diesel. I watch him all the time. I think he's great. Now, share your thoughts on that.
509 per gallon for the non-tax diesel.
That seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot. They control you, like just like Carlin said. Yeah, like they like to think that they control you.
Chris Freeman said, didn't they reformulate diesel some years ago to reduce the amount of sulfur in it?
Yes, that's where they started adding the biodiesel in. B20. You go to the pump now and it says B20 on it.
The big rip is this DEF bullshit.
Oh,
that's absurd. That's absurd. How you truckers didn't all gather together and go find the legislators that made this and literally burn them at the stake in front of wherever.
Well, that's what's ruined the diesel industry was DEF. So the emissions requirement is what. So we went from the 7.3 Ford, right?
Right.
Like tried and true, and then you had the Cummins 5.9, tried and true, and then they had the emissions came into play. So the Cummins went to like 4 valve per cylinder and better injection setup. The 7.3 became the 6-liter, and it had all this emissions crap on it, EGR and EGR cooler, and oh man, that was the stuff that was going by the wayside. That's what was causing all those engine failures. Was the emissions crap.
You know what DEF is, right?
Pig urine.
It's pig piss.
Yeah.
It's pig piss.
You're paying money for pig piss.
It's almost like it was a bad joke. It's almost like here, let's insult you with this, right? Here, your truck now has to run on piss and pay us for it. Because I mean, seriously.
Yep. Well, and it's refined piss. And here's what really sucks is they put it in a tank, and then they put a freaking fuel level sending unit in it, just like they do gasoline. Well, what does piss do, right? Anything, if you've ever seen what piss does to a freaking urinal, right? I mean, oh gosh, does it wreck those tanks? And my tank from the Dodge dealer was $800, $800 I think for the tank, just the tank. $800 for a plastic tank that holds pee.
Kathy says, I got caught in a downpour. I'm wet but fine. Well, good. Oh, she was out on a bicycle. She's bicycling now. Also, did you see the GM pulled out of SEMA? Wow, yeah. Nice.
GM and Mopar.
I didn't know Mopar pulled out.
Yeah.
We may have to put a SEMA car in the back burner.
Oh, you got a SEMA car?
We were joking about
Oh.
it. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like a scumbag, but sometimes I am. I want to just see that whole thing just swirl around the bowl and get flushed. Goodbye SEMA, goodbye all of this bullshit. Let's get back to having real people building real cars the real way, real companies making stuff, not these multi-conglomerate Holly and Comp, and let's wipe the slate clean with the whole friggin' industry and start over fresh with real people doing real things.
So there's a couple of things here. Okay. Matt S says DEF fluid is a gimmick that got passed to have something else to pay for.
Right.
If you think about it, it's them trying to it's
piss.
Trying to own the market, right?
Right.
That's exactly what happened with E85. That's exactly what's happening right now with electric cars, right? But
wait, here's the kicker, and this is something I just found out. You know where most of the DEF comes from?
Pig urine?
Where it mostly comes from?
Ukraine. Russia. Oh,
Russia.
Wow. Surprise.
Now, why? Okay, so you're saying that we don't have enough pigs in this country, making enough piss in this country that we have to import it from another country. How does that work?
I like the idea that you have to pay to bring it over.
Comrades, send over another tanker built ship of piss to the Americans.
It must be really cheap to ship crap these days. So well, all right. So when I was a kid, they used to have this thing called import tax.
Okay.
You remember the import tax? That like the Japanese brought a car over and they could sell it for 22 cents.
Right.
But what happened? The tax would cause it to be equal to about the same price as an American car, right? That's why you didn't see a ton of Japanese cars on the road in the 70s and 80s. There was a few because they did have reliability down. They did have the economical stance figured out. They were very economical, but you were paying almost the same price as you were for a Chevrolet or a Pontiac, right? For a freaking little Honda. In the 90s somewhere, that freaking import tax thing went away.
Well, they did the same bullshit with motorcycles. Because Harley made a deal with the government, right? Where they were going to tax anything over 750 cc's. It was a surcharge. Anything over 750 cc's being imported.
So they all went to 750.
Which was bullshit. Which is bullshit. They want to push the EV sales. Well, seriously, all of this is there are things going on, bro. There are things going on, and they're not going to happen. It's not going to work. They're not going to win. These son of bitches are not going to win. But yeah, that's what this is all about. There's many things adding up to this whole quote EV thing, right? And a specific color that I'm not going to mention here on because you know you got to watch what you say on this. So yeah, it's all bullshit, and none of it is actually going to come to pass.
Coda Improvement says there's a lot of semi-trucks right now waiting on critical parts for DEF systems and can't move due to regulations.
Bill McKeiska, thank you, sir.
I'm just wondering why you can't just walk right out and piss in your own tank.
This is what I would do. Exactly right, Tony. Time for all of us to do it on our own out of our garages. Yep. Nothing like good old ingenuity. It doesn't have to be pretty if it works, and especially if it works well. You got it. You got it. And thank you for the super chat.
So what you're saying is we should probably go back to or go to building back better some hot rods?
Yes. Wheelie King, they definitely played a long game. They've been playing their cards for 200 years. They're a little bit longer than 200 years. But yes, you're absolutely right, Wheelie King. They do play the long game. You know when their game ends? Now. This is when their game ends. It's about to end.
So George Bonnie says they can remotely shut off EVs. Did you know that?
Of course. They can remotely shut off anything.
They can't remotely shut off my Suburban.
Yeah, well, actually, from what I understand, they're starting to employ the EMP devices in cars.
I'm going points.
Cop cars.
I'm going points now. What are they gonna do? Nothing.
Mr. Will's Dive Big Rush, Tone, please, a quick shout out. Wild Rose, Bear Rose, and I will be doing a live tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Time with special guest Kiwi. Well, there you go. There's this shout out, man.
There you go. Got to watch the SL6 converter, crank output, the slant 6 converter.
Change between 67 and 68, right.
Isn't that what that guy was asking earlier?
How about the RPM Act? Screw all of that. Pay no attention to it.
DEF shortage inbound. Nah, I still got to pee. That's what's funny is like you still piss. Does it have to be pig urine? That's what I'm wondering. Or would just
well, it has to be Russian pig.
Well, somebody was saying urea and urine is not the same thing. And I beg to differ.
I beg to differ, yeah. Please.
Well, didn't they used to use urea? It used to be used in shampoo, right?
They use it on a lot of different things.
Well, that's what's funny is like you can literally go out and pee in this freaking DEF tank and it's not going to be any different.
Urine is the liquid. Urea is what the liquid is made up of, or the main ingredient of the liquid. It's urea and water. Craig Davis, Tony, can you do a video on removing and installing windshields? only if you want to see me cursing and screaming
And
and
breaking a windshield.
breaking a windshield.
Dude, I tell you what. Oh man, I was in the junkyard. I pulled a windshield from my T-Bird out of like a 80, I think it was 85 T-Bird, turbo coupe, right?
Okay.
T-Bird's got its own proprietary, T-Bird and Cooter and Lincoln Mark 7, I believe, have their own proprietary windshield. It only fits them 3 cars.
Okay.
It's shorter by 2 or 3 inches than a Mustang 5-liter. But
Okay.
it's almost the same dimensions across. So I found one in the junkyard, and they were actually getting hard to find, like in the early 2000s. So I don't know what it's like today. God, it'd be like some ungodly amount of money. I spent hours with the piano wire trick, right? Pulling this windshield out. I get it out. There's a car right next to it. So I go to pick up all my tools. I take the windshield out. I lay it on the hood of this car, right? And it was like, pow! Like, what the hell was that? I look over and my windshield literally just exploded. There was a little dinky, like, pebble on the hood of this car.
Oh, I've never had that. I had a little chip in the windshield.
Oh,
That as I took it out, it went,
they just had a little pebble under it. And I didn't notice it. I put it down and it was just making this weird noise and then pow. And it was enough weird noise that you start looking around like, what the hell is that noise, right?
SRP. Fuel prices are up worldwide, not just in the US. This is very true. Oil production is up higher now since before COVID. I'm not going to say that word. No one went to work during that word, so oil production was down. Demand was up. Bullshit. Bullshit. Raul Cruz, Carnot on YouTube says modern engines can't be glazed broke with a home and re-ringed. Says it just won't work.
There's some engines that can.
I can't imagine what engine would it be.
That Ford 67 turbo diesel
Okay.
has a plasma spray-in liner in the cylinder.
Okay.
And what they do is they atomize like moly or some, I don't know, some alloy, and they spray it on the cylinder. It's got spray-in cylinder.
Well, that's like the old
liners.
Nicocel stuff they used to use on the 2-strokes.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to do it. And I mean, all the stuff that they're doing today, none of it's new. There hasn't been an evolutionary breakthrough in automotive history in a long time, right? Like there isn't anything that's new that people should be getting awards for at this point, especially on the internal combustion engine, because there's very few things you can do.
Plated cylinders, yeah, like I said, like the Nicocel. But you could still give those a quick hone. There's nothing to stop you from giving. I used to do them with a fine stone and just a quick hone. I never had any problems. Broke Jokey, I hope I am doing very well, brother man. And I hope you are also doing well.
So Joe Brooklyn says, will an Edelbrock Performer manifold be much of an improvement over the stock manifold of a 400 big block and 73 Charger?
No, it actually won't. That's a pretty good manifold on there. The manifold that they use on the 72, 73, well, the 70s, the thermoquad factory manifolds were actually really good manifolds. And no, I don't think you're going to see an improvement if you go over to, I mean,
It's just going to be lighter.
Yeah, you give you lighter by about 25 pounds, or 20 pounds. But no, I don't believe you're going to see any performance improvement. Jason Powell, Hayabusa cylinders are nickel sealed. We give them just a quick hone.
And have no problem.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yes, Kay Nelson says a lot of that tech dates back to World War II. Yes, 100%. Even, I mean, think about it. All the things that people think are new, right? Dual overhead cam, World War II, right? Roller lifters, World War II. Hemi heads, World War II. I mean, what wasn't developed in World War II? That machine of that time, it was, I don't know. It almost seems like it's endless. Here we are, almost 100 years later.
All right. So Unfinished Project is saying, despite DEF earning the nickname pig urine, diesel exhaust fluid is actually made of a commercial grade urea, synthetic ammonia, and carbon. Bro, I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just like the moon landing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we didn't go there. I'm saying that I don't think we did, and it's the same thing with that. I'm not saying that it's not completely synthetic, but I don't think that it is. So I don't know. I don't know.
Pirate Greg says pro charging. No, that's just a takeoff from a Vortex, which Vortex were what? Aircraft.
Well, the Paxton.
No, Paxton supercharger. Yeah, aircraft. World War II.
Yeah, Otto's saying we've been living off the spoils of World War II. That's no lie. Wheelie King, the only thing I can think of engine-wise that is new since World War II is Ducati's Desmo valve train.
Is that the solenoid operated one?
No, it's instead of having valve springs, it has a
solenoid
follower that takes the place of, I don't know. People are coming in.
I know. I wonder who it is.
It has a follower that actually lifts the valve.
Because I know that Formula One, they had solenoid operated valves, and that's something that was relatively new. They were solenoid over pneumatic, right? Isn't that what they were? Something like that.
Yeah. Who goes there? I hope it's not a killer.
It's gotta be the
Oh, Jesus.
It's a home invasion, guys.
Yeah, what's happening, man?
Oh, just, brought wires.
Oh, nice.
Got nothing else to do.
You could have stayed home and not been rained on. Is it
I
still
was
raining
only-
outside?
Yeah. I was only rained on in between the car and here, so
Oh,
it's all good.
Yeah, you got people saying Austin,
No, home invader.
home invader.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me go put these up.
Let's see. Yes, actually Austin Puddin. Yeah, he's
Oh, God.
he's going to work on the jet. Oscar Walton, electric cars were around in the early 1900s. They aren't new either. They out at one point, electric cars outnumbered internal combustion cars. The first Mopar, the very first Chrysler product. If you take the Chrysler product all the way back to the very, very first thing that this led to this, that led to this, led to this, was a car called the Electrobat in 1896, I think it was. I don't remember. It was in the 1890s, but it was called the Electrobat. It was built in New York City. And that company was bought up by another company, which was bought up by Maxwell, which was bought up by Chrysler, and so on and so forth down the line. But the very first Mopar was an electric vehicle in the 1800s.
well, what's funny is like the first cars, the external combustion engine cars probably outnumbered the internal combustion engine cars, right? Because you had the Stanley Steamer, right?
Mhm.
How many Stanley Steamers did they make? A bazillion? I mean, it was before Ford actually revolutionized the whole thing, right? Before Henry Ford did. That was probably primarily the main thing on the road. The external combustion. But there was like 4 or 5 of them manufacturers that were doing steam-driven engines.
Yeah. Let's see. EV equals zero saying EV equals transportation appliance. I mean, honestly, bro, all of the new cars today are basically appliances, no?
Man, I'm telling you what, if the shit hits the fan, I gotta build a boiler engine. I'm gonna do it. It's so easy to do it. Huh?
I would love to build a steam.
It'd be so
car.
easy, right? And then you make a car super duper lightweight, and then they say, "Oh, emissions regulations." Oh yeah, well, what do I got? I don't have a piston-driven engine, or well, maybe I would at that point because it's steam. But
See, now it's funny coincidence. It's a really funny coincidence because John was here. Was today or yesterday? John from the Jet was here yesterday, right? And I asked him. We were driving over to film that Pontiac, and I says, "What do you know about steam engines?" He says, "Some." I says, "I would love to build a steam-powered car."
well, and the cool part is it's all pretty much self-contained, right? So you just got your firebox, right?
Right.
Your firebox heats the boiler. The water inside the boiler expands.
Oh, I know how it works. I know how it works. I mean, I'm very intimately.
Well, the water just
knowledgeable
gets recirculated. You don't let anything out, really. Eventually, it will boil out, right? Steam out. That's why those steam engines used to have to fill up with water. And that's why you used to have water tanks above the tracks.
buffering.
No. Looks good here. Maybe it's on your end.
Willie Foring, Jay Leno Garage has an episode of his steam motor. I've seen it.
And like 1,000 RPM would be like that thing flying apart. They don't operate at very high RPM at all.
Chris Freeman, seems to me that a steam engine could be a ticking time bomb if you don't properly control it. It's not the pressure. The pressure isn't a problem. Pressure isn't a problem. The problem is if you run it low on water, the crown sheet, the part of metal, the sheet of steel that separates the firebox from the water, it'll get hot enough that it collapses. That's what happens when the boilers explode on those things.
And that's why I was thinking, like, you could literally do that whole thing just using an old water heater, right?
I think you need more than what you get, I don't know, out of a water heater. I don't think a water heater would be enough.
You don't think so?
No, it has to be hotter than that. George Bonnie, you'd probably need a machine shop to build a steam engine. What about adapting? I bet you there's ways you could adapt. Wait. In fact, General Motors built a small block Chevy version of a steam engine, and put it in a Chevelle in 1969.
Really?
They used 4 cylinders from a small block Chevy with an external boiler.
Okay.
And this thing was a running driving car. They had it on the proving grounds and the whole thing. And one of them still exists.
That's the one we need to figure out.
If somebody knows the details on that car, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The Chevelle, the steam powered Chevelle.
Well, that would make it. I mean, God, the A body. You know how many A bodies were made, and how many are still out there, and how many parts are still made for them? You could make a freaking steam A body.
Unfinished projects just said that Wendy's is for sale.
Yeah. Well, ever since Dave died, I don't think anybody's paid attention to Wendy's, right?
No, not really. Ever since they got rid of the hot Wendy's chick, the redhead.
Dave's daughter.
That was no. Dave's daughter was not a hot Wendy's chick. No, the one that played the hot Wendy's chick.
Oh, I know what you're talking
You know
about.
what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Like every red-blooded American male on the planet was just like riveted to the TV during a Wendy's commercial.
Ever since Dave died, that whole place has went downhill. Professionals built the Titanic. That they did. And professionals ran it into an iceberg.
Neil Rideout, do a really built up poly engine. We have talked about that. The problem is I don't have anything to put a poly in. All my project cars are like kind of like spoken for what motors they're going to get in the whole 10 yards.
Blinky.
Blinky's gone. That's as good as gone. Screaming Seaman. Electric cars used to be all over the place with the model. I know, that's what I was just saying. Internal combustion engines went out 100 years ago for a reason. Went out again because this time they were more convenient. Absolutely, I agree.
It was just all because of size and compactness. And then when they kept building the engines smaller with more horsepower, that was a big deal.
Nobody knows anything about the steam Chevelle.
The SRP says the boiler I'm at now has over 1 million horsepower as a steam generator.
That's awesome. That's awesome. 1 million horsepower. 1 million horsepower. Mr. Will, Tony, in Meckham last weekend, world record set for a 69 Hemi Charger Daytona and $1,320,000. How absurd is that? I wonder if it's the same one I beat up for Street and Strip Supercar magazine.
That same Meekum, some asswad paid $2 million for a freaking Ford truck.
Oh, jeez.
A Ford truck. Steve Maggs ought to know the steam Chevelle. He probably does.
Oh, I think that's a neat concept. Oscar Walton, Jay Leno has a Noble, a Doble. It's a Doble. Steam car is probably the most evolved version of the steam, and it's definitely worth a look. I've seen it. I'm a locomotive. I love steam locomotives, so I'm familiar with the basics on how they work, and that's not the issue. The question is like scaling everything down to be an effective everyday car.
Road and Track 4-door white Chevelle, steam powered.
Yes, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. That was an actual General Motors. They had to run around. Actually, they had a few of them running around the proving grounds because they were working on all different concepts during that period of time. And it was based on a small block Chevy. They had a steam-powered small block Chevy in it.
But here's the cool thing about steam, okay? You could literally build your car to run on steam. You can burn wood in there. You can burn coal. You can burn oil. You can burn kerosene. Yes, that's what's awesome about it. You break down. Oh man, I broke down, or I ran out of fuel. Right? You want to run out in the woods, chop down a tree, throw it in the firebox, get it stoked up and burn it again, and you're on the road.
Oh, Kiwi's saying, Kiwi's right. Steam makes peak power at 0 RPM. Yes, I know. Isn't that amazing? There's a guy with a steam-powered motorcycle. There's you can.
Oh, I saw
Did
that.
you see that?
I did. Yeah.
Where he's going down the road and he runs out of steam. And so he goes to the side of the road and he gathers.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. It was like a car, and it was behind him.
Yeah.
He had like a barbecue as the firebox.
Right. Yeah, I love that.
But it used 2 jugs off of like a Volkswagen 4-cylinder, and pistons and rods off of that.
I don't know what he used.
It was right there on the rear wheels.
Yeah, but I don't know.
The pistons and rods, and then the jugs hanging off, and you're like, that's Volkswagen 100%, or a motorcycle.
Possibly. I got to go back and watch that again.
You'll need to have your water at a pH of 7. Yeah, probably so it's not corrosive. Is John Wilburn on the chat? I haven't seen him. There he is.
John Wilburn is everywhere all the time.
Well, and that's what's weird. You just mention him, and there he is.
Kiwi is saying, Dallas, back in the day, some manufacturers used condensers to cool the steam back into water and recycle it.
Well, there you go. I thought it was a closed loop system, so that's probably right.
Boy, I'm excited to see this. This is the kind of thing I'm interested in. That could be a lot of fun.
You know what that would be perfect to do it in? Find a Corvair wagon.
You know what would actually? I wonder how it would work if you were to use like a concept of like a diesel locomotive. You know, where the diesel
engine diesel electric,
the generator. Mm-hmm. So what if you didn't a steam powered EV?
Well, you just don't have batteries. It's just running directly off the.
Right. Well, I think you would need
actually that would be the smartest thing to do is just have the EV with a generator on it and a freaking steam plant running it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's smart. And it charges the batteries, and then you only run the steam plant when the battery starts to get low, right?
Doug Norden says, all my experience with steam power comes from case steam tractors where 5 miles an hour is hang on. Yeah, but it will literally pull down a city, right? I mean, it's like the bottomless pit of power.
Oh, a torque. Yeah. It'll literally close up the Grand Canyon. The government doesn't like anything they can't control. Exactly. And that's what we're giving you options. That's the Chevy Volt. The Chevy Volt has a steam plant? I didn't know the Chevy Volt had a steam plant in it.
Screaming Seaman, Uncle Tommy, have you seen those cars that run with compressed air? It's the closest thing to free energy I've seen. I've seen all sorts of compressed air things, but if you go back, and this is something I don't know a lot about, but it's an interesting concept. Back in the day, they used to use what they called fireless locomotives in like industrial plants. So what they did was they had a big steam generator, right? And they would fill the tank, what would be, it was like a compressed air tank, only it would fill it with steam. And they would run these locomotives around these tanks. And I always wondered how long something like that would last. Like, how much steam can you pump into a tank and then power something like a locomotive to do work? It's an interesting concept.
Well, it goes in like 2,000 psi, right? So that when I was in the Navy, when I first went in, they had this rate called BT, which was a boiler technician, right?
Okay.
These guys would tell you like how it was in the olden days. They'd have to come in and stoke the fire the day before the ship got underway, right? The ships that we got today are literally like all gas turbines. So you just walk up to the bridge, push a button, and freaking light the thing off, and you're underway in 10 minutes. These guys were there like a day before to build heat in the boiler, right? And they'd say, oh, we did a steam leak. and you take a broom and you start waving the broom around looking for the steam leak, right? Because if you wave your hand, it'll cut your fucking arm off.
Yeah, I know.
Or your
Yeah.
fingers off. Like, oh crap, that's some hardcore Navy right there.
Raul Cruz, a couple of hours, fireless cooker locomotives. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. And I wonder how that could transfer to cars.
Boilers explode, yes, but not as bad as like a hydrogen vehicle. Could you imagine the dumbass people that you've seen putting gas in plastic bags with a hydrogen vehicle? I mean, come on. And then when it blows up, it just takes out a city block.
BS Customs saw something the other day about a gyro bus where it had a big flywheel that would recharge at stations, and it would just use the flywheel to generate electricity because the batteries weren't there. Interesting.
That is an
Interesting.
interesting concept. Yeah, high pressure steam is serious stuff there. While
Yeah, it's no joke. It's no joke.
But that is pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious about that. Definitely curious about the possibilities with that.
Well, I'm wondering what you could do with just a small boiler. Like, say 5 gallons. What would 5 gallon do for you?
Well, if you were to use a small boiler, right, like it would be enough to spin a generator, which would be enough.
Well, here's what I was looking at. You know the propane tanks, like you got on a camper?
Right.
That 5 gallon, I think is what it is, or 10 gallon. If you just run a small flame under that boiler with a propane tank, right? How long would that run for? I mean, my fridge in my travel trailer runs for like 5 or 8 days on just one tank of that stuff.
I don't know. It's something I think we should play around with.
A 20-pound bottle, not 5 gallons. All right, so a 20-pound bottle. Where can we get a steel 20-pound cylinder? Fire extinguisher?
We need to work on a project. We need to do a steam project.
I could only see this cylinder flying across the shop at Mach 5.
We'll blow some stuff up. There's no question about it. We may not all make it out in one piece, but that's okay. It's for YouTube and science.
Oh, in that case, let's do it. But yeah, I think we could have some kind of really awesome.
Well, you love to think of stuff that's out of the box. You love out of the box stuff. That's as out of the box as you can get.
Yeah.
Raul Cruz, steam locomotive boiler explosions can throw a 5-ton boiler about 100 yards. Bro, they're even worse than that. There was one in Texas, a boiler explosion in Texas. They literally leveled half the town. Mopar Den, thank you, sir. So is there now a UTG DMG rust removal service in the house? I have a few parts to mail in. It would be cheaper for you to set up your own than the mail stuff, man.
Well, somebody was wanting me to do this block. I got that 350 Buick block from Toledo, and it was set in a container for 22 years. And it's got some rust on it. And I think if I could electrolysis the whole thing off, like just because it's freshly bored and all that.
Yeah.
Right. So just disassemble it and electrolysis the block.
Unfinished Project says, Tony, you can use magnetic induction to produce the steam.
Oh, just like in an iron. Yeah, an iron. You just plug in an iron and it uses.
Yeah, but then you need a power source for that, whereas opposed to using the steam as a power source.
Yeah.
You'd end up with a perpetual motion thing if you tried to do it.
Right. I think the most efficient way to do it is probably like. I don't know if we can we liquefy coal with ethanol?
I don't know.
And if you could, that would be a way to do it.
I have no idea.
Because you're like, fill your tank, I got a piece of coal, right? Just one little piece of coal.
BS Custom says the issues you're running into are the efficiencies of things. So yeah, you could probably use a propane tank to create steam, but it would be more efficient to use gasoline vapor like the Doble.
Yeah. Nuclear
This is
steam
interesting.
Honda Cub.
As soon as we get off of here tonight, I'm going home and I'm going to look up all the information you can find on that Chevelle.
You can tell I didn't major in chemistry. Come on, man. I have a high school diploma. That's all I got. Yeah, so I was just wondering if you can cut coal with ethanol or methanol.
Charles Manson, the most efficient way to produce steam is to remove as many
Exactly.
conversion steps from the process as possible. This means putting something hot like a flame near the boiler and boiling the damn water. my sentiments exactly. Otto saying making gasoline out of coal is a World War II thing.
Oh, damn, World War II. They already been there and done that and got the t-shirt. Coal gasification. Yes, that's they had Burt Monroe had a coal gasifier on his Indian motorcycle during World War II when they rationed all the gasoline.
Oscar Walton says a scuba tank would be better, holds a lot of pressure, and doesn't take up a lot of space.
But it's aluminum, isn't it? I'm
I
pretty
don't
certain
know.
that's aluminum.
I don't know.
Or for the English watchers, the aluminium.
Fasting is saying there are different types of coal as well. Anthracite coal being the hardest and most pure. That's like the stuff that they have up north, like in Pennsylvania, right? Like the whole state is made up of anthracite coal. Used fuel bundles are readily available from nuclear plants. I mean, well, there you go. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, but
Score
pick up
some
some
used.
uranium rods.
Yeah.
I used to juggle them, put them in my pockets, stuff like that.
Charles Manson, Tony, look up a Tesla turbine. Then imagine it hooking up to the front pulley of a motor running off of steam generated from exhaust heat. That's something I talked about on a video a while back. But I want to know. So okay, the Chevy, the General Motors experiments were done based with a steam engine based around an existing small block Chevy. So that's how I would want to go about it. I wouldn't want to try to reinvent the wheel. I'm fascinated by what it would take to run an engine that we're familiar with, the four-stroke internal combustion
Something that you can get on any corner.
Right. What would it take to make steam power with one of those things? That could be a really, really interesting project.
I like this guy's.
Which guy?
He was saying, Zach Roberts says most scuba tanks are made of fiberglass and carbon fiber. So firebox,
No, that won't work.
That is not going to
That's
work
not
at
gonna
all.
work.
Tesla's death is a big mystery. No, he died penniless, and I believe he signed over every patent he had over to Mr. Westinghouse, and then George Westinghouse sold them when he got in.
To
Edison.
Donald Trump's father.
Was it Donald Trump's father?
Yeah.
When he got in financial problems, that's what he did. He sold all of them.
Mopar, then the FBI cleared out his hotel room files.
I can believe that. I mean, that dude
Right.
made so much stuff. You grew up there in New York area, right? Did you ever see the big Tesla building there on the island? It's not. I don't think it's Staten Island, but
Wouldn't be on Staten Island.
it was on one of them islands out there in the water, in the Hudson River area.
I'm not familiar with that.
And it had, oh yeah.
I know the Hudson River. I don't know of any. I'm not familiar with Tesla
Yeah,
building.
I'll see if I'll find it.
Okay.
That's where he had a power generation station.
Peter Kovacs made a cardboard cat house. That's see, I mean, it's making things. It's really the same stuff.
Oh, we got no internet. I got 5G, but no internet. I wonder if the the tower got struck by lots of water.
Oh.
There we go.
Thomas Shirley, let's all carpool more. Let's not. I don't really like to ride with other people. Tesla was at Niagara. Yes, that I know.
Yeah, he also had this awesome place like in the Midwest somewhere, this huge freaking wireless power transmission place in the Midwest.
Well, pardon, I foolishly wore to ski on the Hudson River back in the 80s. I could feel the sludge on my ankles. Juicy Taco.
Oh, there it is.
Mr.
Warden
Tony.
Cliff Tower. Okay.
And it's in New York?
Yeah. New York Tower. This article is about the Shoreham, New York Tower, Tesla Tower.
Oh, Shoreham. That's not. That's up.
The village of Shoreham, located in the village of Shoreham, New York. Tesla intended to transmit messages. Look at the building.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, there was another one too.
He was so over the top.
Oh, the dude was so far ahead of his time. So where he got like really famous was because you had White Westinghouse versus GE, right? White Westinghouse got the contract to electrify the World's Fair. Tesla had to do a presentation there. So he took these light bulbs filled with, you ever seen Tesla coils?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the electricity going between, right? Which is like 125,000 volts or something.
But no amps.
0 amps,
Right.
yeah. So he's got these light bulbs that are filled with like xenon and rayon, whatever, right? He's standing in between these Tesla coils and it's freaking zapping these light bulbs, lighting them up. And this is the World's Fair where people don't even have running electricity or like electricity in their house, right? And this dude's got lightning striking them all over the place and people are freaking out, but it's like no amperage. That's how far ahead this guy was compared to the rest of the world.
Unfinished project says he flipped his lid, ended up marrying a pigeon.
Nikola Tesla?
That's probably true. I don't know if it's true or not, but see if he married a pigeon.
Shoreham is on Long Island.
Okay, that's why I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, that's where that thing was, Long Island. That's pretty cool, huh?
There's a lot of weird stuff happening on Long Island.
Well, right now, this guy says that there's catalytic converters being stolen all over New York.
Oh, I'm sure. Charles Manson says it is true. About Tesla marrying a pigeon? Bill McKay's good too, but thank you for the super chat. Tony, how's that Jacobs coil? I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm gonna do a coil comparison. I'm gonna round up a bunch of different coils and do a comparison.
Oh, is that a Jacobs ignition?
I have a Jacobs coil inside.
The blue ones?
Yeah.
Oh man, those are supposed to be freaking hot rod.
We're gonna find out.
Tesla supposedly had a death ray, says Mr. Will's Dying Green Garage. You know, he also had a vibration machine that you could put it on, like, he tested it on a building. He put it on the building, the metal structure of the building, and turned it on and set it to the resonant frequency of the building that he calculated.
Right.
And it started shaking the building apart. So he turned it off and like left it.
So you gotta wonder how many of those things are actually true and how many of them are.
I don't
know.
Argon, not rayon. I don't know what was in the thing. I just pick a whole bunch of weird gases and throw them in light bulbs.
Ari says the pigeon understood him.
I bet.
Creekside Garage, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to read that. He supposedly had a Pierce arrow that was controlled with radio waves. So many things.
Who knows what's fact or fiction anymore?
Right. Well, he was working on wireless energy transmission, and that's what that building is for in New York.
Well, okay. So this is something I read a couple of different times, a couple of different places. There was the Tunguska explosion in 1908 in Siberia. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay. There was this explosion in I don't remember what the date was. I know somebody will know what the date was. There was this explosion in Siberia, right? It was Tunguska.
Okay.
Okay. and it came out of the blue, and it was ginormous, right? And it leveled trees for like 80 miles around.
Okay.
Okay, just totally like decimation, right? So supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not. Obviously, I don't know if this is true. So Tesla had a Tesla coil in Florida, and he was going to try to beam electricity to New York. And the speculation is that he missed New York
And hit
and
Siberia.
hit Siberia. And that was this Tunguska explosion. And the thing that ties it together is the day that the same exact period of time that he was working on transmitting electricity is when the explosion happened in Siberia. And if you follow the line straight across from Florida to New York, you end up in Tunguska.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, across the top of the earth?
Right.
Chris Freemaster says, wasn't that Siberia thing simply a meteor hitting the earth?
Well,
Or
but
Tesla's electricity?
yeah, I'm not saying that it was Tesla. I'm saying that this is what these are the things that I've read about people speculating on.
Well, Hearsay Henderson says, Tesla coils for healing is another device he invented. He invented so much. I read a book on this guy like in the early 2000s. And it was like, man, this guy was so far ahead of his time. He actually made Edison his bitch.
Shop Cat, you got about 7 minutes before safety meeting. Oh, they're calling you for a safety meeting, are they? Juicy Taco, how long do you suppose gas engines will still be around?
Oh, hundreds of
Long
years.
after we're all gone. Long after we're all gone.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
I want to build a steam car. I want to build a steam powered car.
I don't see why we can't make something simple, right? Like some wheelchair wheels or something like that, and just a lightweight little frame, and then a firebox. And
No, it has to be a car. It has to be something that could actually be driven down the road.
we need something light, cheap. Oh, there's a Chevette over at the freaking pick apart.
Hang on. I may have a car for that.
A Miata, Blinky.
No. Hang on. Let me run all of this through my head.
No, SRP, you're backwards on that. Tesla was pushing AC and Edison was pushing DC. Yeah. Matter of fact, Edison marketed an entire campaign to ruin Tesla's AC electricity, and that's how they came up with the electric chair.
French Onion says monkeypox is coming. Bring it. Bring me the monkeypox. I'll take some of that shit. I'll have it for breakfast. I'll put it on my tacos.
You'll pop one of them little blisters and put it on your taco.
Yeah. Screaming Seaman, Uncle Tony, why not try to make a V12 out of 2 slant 6s?
Joe K says, and then AC/DC combined them. AC and DC, huh?
Jody Calhoun, Doble has already built the best steam car. That was then. What about now?
Creekside Garage says, does the monkeypox make you crave bananas or something? Bananas.
Let's see. Oscar Walton, I don't know if that was true, but harmonic resonance can wipe out an engine. Oh, it's absolutely positively true.
Yes, Auto 1303 said it right there. Edison electrocuted elephants to scare people away from Westinghouse's AC power. That's right. Oh.
Juicy Taco, here's $5 to put a 454 in the Miata. I'm going to put that $5 to something else, brother, man.
Steam power. Steam power. We're just going to go get some wood and make a firebox. Yes. Harmonics wiped out the Tacoma Narrow Bridge in 1941.
Well, that's why when they in the old days when they used to do a lot of marching instead of driving and stuff, when troops would be marching over a bridge, they had to break step. They're supposed to, troops are supposed to all walk in exact.
And that's what Tesla's invention was. It just would resonate, or it would oscillate at the resonant frequency that you calculate for that vessel. Everything has a
That's
resonant frequency.
right?
Yeah.
But in the old days, like I said, before they drove everywhere, when troops would walk over a bridge, they had to break step with each other because if they all walked in the same step,
it would knock the bridge
it would
down.
knock the bridge down.
A hit and miss would be a cool one to see in a vehicle. That's what they used to run the oil rigs off of, right? The old hit and misses. I wonder if
the thing. Here's the thing with the hit and miss stuff. The hit and miss, if you've got it in a car, okay, where it's under a constant load, there'll never be a miss. It'll hit every time because it's under load every time. So then you just end up with a thumper. You know what I mean? So it's really not the same thing.
What you need is you need it running like a gyroscope or a heavy flywheel.
A heavy flywheel. Unfinished project. You want a rabbit hole? Old church organs. Old world churches and organs.
Oh, those were all steamed, weren't they?
Yeah, well, the earliest ones weren't.
They weren't.
But he's talking about like resonances and shit like that.
Oh.
That they would, the Mustard Kid. That myth was busted on Mythbusters, both the walking in the same step and Tesla's building breaking device.
Oh.
Well, if they did it on Mythbusters, it must be true.
Thousand horsepower steam powered Miata.
No, I'm not joking about a steam car.
I know. I think it'd be cool to build one. I really do. I just don't know where you're going to get. We're going to have to build a boiler, right? Then you got to have a firebox. And then how is it going to exhaust? And if you're using a regular engine out of a vehicle, you got to make your own head for this.
Again, I got to look into this. I'm gonna do a deep dive on that Chevelle. I'm gonna do a deep dive on that Chevelle. Riders or a pale horse. Steam powered cars are very slow to get going. Maybe they might take a couple of minutes to like actually warm up to speed, but they got torque up the wazoo. I'm going to look into this.
Danny Boyd says name for a band, Harmonic Resonance.
Billy Bob Holcomb, a Doble is fast to warm up but has set land speed record.
Oh, hey, there's something that I need to bring up.
Yeah.
So I was at the Buick Nationals, and they had a historical Buick engineer from Buick, right? His name was Denny Manor.
Okay.
They had him there at the Buick Nationals, and he would answer all your historical or neat Buick questions about engineering of the engines, right? Well, apparently, what's that lake in California? Havasu. They built a one-off Buick nailhead, or I can't remember. It's either nailhead or 215 intake manifold.
Okay.
I think it is a 215, but it's like a Weber piece with Weber carburetors on it. So it's a one-off Buick experimental intake manifold. It went on this boat and sank in Havasu. Well, right now they've been in a drought for 10 years and everything's showing up, right? I wonder if it'd be worth it to go out there and get this one-off intake manifold, because what do you think it would be worth?
So they at the bottom of a lake for 50, 60 years?
It's one-off.
I don't know.
It's like the crushed Charger who's that moron guy that I don't like that does the graveyard cars, right?
Right.
Fixes this one Challenger or Charger that falls off a cliff, right? Not one piece of the car is the same.
Yeah, it's kind of different though. I don't know. I mean, Why find somebody in the area and see if they
I wonder if
can.
it'd be worth it just going out there. I mean, it's only a $200 plane ticket to go out there and then rent a boat on Lake Havasu. Go fishing for a Buick one-off engine. Are those Buick 3800 supercharged worth their salt? All those 90s, 2000 front-wheel drive at Palace Park Avenue and back. They run good. I do know that. They do run good.
Shop Cat Industries, Danny Boy, Bill Lear tried that in 1969. What was that about now? Bill Lear in 1969? Bill McKeiska, thank you for the super chat. Do you watch the channel Greg's Airplanes and Automobiles? He's really very informative and great on his research. Really cool channel. I have never seen it, but that's a good recommendation, man. Thank you. Steam at Indy.
I don't know if there was any steam cars at Indy. I'm sure there probably was. Indy was around early 1900s.
Mustard Kid, making a steam-powered V8 that uses steam to push the piston in both directions like a steam train would be cool. Absolutely. I don't know how you do that though. I don't know.
Actually, I think I have an idea. Take two engines and take the heads off and bolt both cylinders together.
Okay. So the
Right?
pistons
are facing each other.
right.
And then inject the steam in between each piston, and then it would be like a posed piston kind of deal.
Oh, okay. You were responding to Dan's question about a steam-powered Indy racer. So that was okay. I want to learn about that. Justin Flathead Man 239. There was a guy in New York that put a hit and miss. I saw that. He put it was in a pickup truck, isn't it? And he used it to take it to the show. It's very slow and it looks like a nightmare to ride. And every time it fires, it sends a shock through the chassis. I saw that. That was cool. Craig Davis, Tony, is the AMC 232-6 faster or slower than a slant 6 pound for pound? Probably a better motor. Probably. Hit and miss engine in a Ford Model A. Yeah, it was in a Ford Model A? I thought I saw one on a pickup truck. You could be right. I don't know. I just remember it was a hit and miss motor. And they showed the guy pulling out of the parking lot, like going down the street. It was like painfully slow.
Look up NASA. So SRP says look up NASA Stirling engine Dodge truck. You know, the Stirling engine's been around a lot longer than that, because Chevrolet put one in a Corvair, and they were selling them.
Did they actually sell those?
They were available for sale. I don't know if anybody ever bought one, but I seen the sales flyer for it. That's how I knew about it. And it's like, wow, they had a Stirling engine in a Corvair.
Danny Boyd, I think they were in steam way back in the first years of Indy, or at least, yeah, I'm sure in the early days when there were a few different manufacturers making steam cars. I'm sure they ran them back then, but steam in 1969 is pretty interesting. Let's see. Pessler steam powered.
W.
I don't know what that means.
Airplane. That's what a steam powered airplane. That would take some serious balls to even want to do that. Think about it. I mean, oh, we're getting low on steam. Oh, we're all really low on steam.
Zero saying steam sounds cool, but like waiting for your butler to warm up the boiler, etc., and then get me dressed sounds exhausting. Okay, but look at the technology we have today, like with tankless water heaters, right? So why couldn't you use something like a tankless water heater, that concept, to get things rocking, it wouldn't take more than a few seconds to at least get a little bit of steam going. Alan Tuttle, have you ever had any thoughts of running on the salt? That for years I love the thought of that, right? But it's just so unrealistic for somebody like me. There are guys that from other parts of the country.
See, I've always wanted to do this. There's a realistic part about this. Okay, going out there and setting the record on the fastest record on the salt is like impossible for me and you, right? Impossible. We don't have enough resources and money to do this. But for me and you to build a car that would run 200 miles an hour on the salt and get a jacket, that would be very feasible.
That's extremely feasible. But my problem is the salt is 2,000 fucking miles away. It's a 4,000-mile round trip. It's something that takes time, real serious dedication to, and I just don't have that. Maybe when I was younger.
Man, you should do the Bergman Row.
No, I have
just
no
build
interest.
a bike. You already got an engine and a chassis for it, right?
You don't understand. I literally don't want to leave the shop. I mean, how can I explain this to you? I literally do not want to leave.
You are out of steam.
Yeah, I'm done. I've been there. I've done it. I got the T-shirt. I literally have no desire to leave the shop. Like we build a steam car. Dallas will go take it someplace. You know what I mean? Because I'll be here in the shop doing something.
I bet we would probably blow it up at the shop before I took it anywhere.
The Screaming Seaman, Uncle Tony, I work for Union Pacific as a locomotive tech. No shit, bro. That is an awesome job. And we have a few old steam locomotives from the 1880s. If you guys are closer, I would talk to my boss about having you guys over to see them. Dude, I love you. Have the job I would want. If like,
why don't you talk to your boss about it anyway and get a hold of Tony?
That is too cool, man. That is too cool. Did you work on the big boy at all?
There you go. Steam motorcycle. That's a very simple concept.
Yeah, but really packaging is going to be a bitch. I would rather just do it in a car where you got plenty of room to put a tank of oil.
I don't know, because see, the packaging wouldn't be that bad, because now you're talking exactly what I was telling you before. We go get a CO2 or a fire extinguisher that's made of steel, right? That's your boiler. Firebox is essentially just your propane tank, and you can buy the small little propanes from the store, or you can use a MAP gas torch.
I'd rather do it with a car. Jackson Kersey, thank you for the super chat. Hey guys, theoretical question for your minds. With blueprint scale machine work, what would it take to make the ultimate nailhead power output? Thank you for the super chat, Jackson. And Jerry, thank you for the super chat.
The ultimate nailhead. I don't think your machine work is going to make those heads actually work. That's why they went away from that.
Yeah, the problem with the nailhead is the ports
and the valve angle. And there's a weird.
Yeah, it was a good packaging idea. You know, the thing with the nailhead is it packages beautifully.
And straight up, right?
It goes straight up. So you got plenty of room around for accessories and exhaust and everything else. But the ports, man, are just they're just bad ports. They're long, skinny ports that you really can't do very much with.
And then it was all based around why the valve, because okay, if you package it straight up and down, the valve's got to be almost straight up and down, right? So when the valve is straight up and down, you don't have any place to put it in the cylinder for it to be feasible, like where you can have big valves, right? When you can them over and you angle them, now you can run bigger valves because you have less, you have actually more surface area because it's at an angle, right? When it's straight up and down, the valves are side by side, so it's limited by your bore space. So, and that was the biggest problem with the nailhead. It's super small valves, hence the name nailhead. But because that it was at that weird angle, the ports were at a weird angle. The rocker arm geometry, if you ever saw one of those things, the rocker arm geometry is like ridiculified. Okay, it's worse than a Hemi because it literally has the push rod coming through the bottom side of the cylinder head, operating the fulcrum rocker arm backwards. It's now if you could eliminate all of that, the nailhead actually has a great bore to stroke ratio. and it has a very small main journal, and the block is super robust. If you could figure out how to make a cylinder head for it, that would make the thing work quite well. What it really needs
I don't think there's enough room in the package.
I don't think there is. Oh, but the block is a 90-degree V, but I don't know what it's cut at the top. I don't know if it's because I think those things were kind of like a 409 Chevy where the chamber was in the cylinder and not in the head, right?
No,
The chamber was in the head.
chambers in the head.
But they got dome pistons from the factory in them. So it must have a huge chamber. But the bore size is the same as a 400 Buick. You could probably work something out there. I bet you the rods are the same size wrist pin. So you could probably come up with something if you could come up with a cylinder head for it.
What the hell's going on in there?
I don't know. Is that Austin?
Yeah. Oscar Walton, if you're serious about a steam engine, a small Bach boiler would be the way to go, like a Doble. I am going to look into this. I'm going to look into this.
Thomas Shirley says, can we use dynamite to make a working engine?
I'm sure you can.
Top Fuel. Well, that's probably a smart idea right there, actually. That's probably the best engine to use for it.
Cut the front 3 cylinders off with slant 6 and add the steam stuff. Why do you have to cut the cylinders off?
That's what I was actually going to say. You just use a slant. I think a slant would probably be fine.
Probably.
Well, it's got a big long stroke and a small bore, right? So that isn't going to affect, this thing isn't going to turn a lot of RPM.
No,
but it needs as much stroke as it can possibly get.
Yeah, I'm going to look into this. I'm definitely going to look into this. Build an engine throwing off black powder. FS thing. I like that idea.
Steam slant. You know what? Here's something that's an interesting concept. What if you took a slant 6, and since you got to take the head off anyway and make it a steam powered one, make each individual cylinder work on something completely different. So you got like compressed air in one cylinder. Steam powered 80s Volvo 240 wagon. I want one of them suckers that put a 302 and a 5-speed in it, like Paul Newman had.
The Screaming Seaman says he's done a little work on the big boys. They're my favorite. We actually had the old steam engine out, pull modern. I actually had the old steam engine out, pull modern 2-stroke diesel. Oh, I believe it. I believe it. That is those are just not just the big boy, but all of the engines of that basic configuration. Just the most amazing, majestic, unbelievably powerful things.
You cannot compress steam. You can, but it's to a point.
Steam powered lawnmower starts small. Yeah. I would rather just try to build something that
you have plenty of, which is cars.
Yeah.
Oh, is this roached out Valiant back here? Is this thing done?
No, I got to get a hold of Stubby. No, I would rather do a car, something we can actually actually drive and perfect and so on and so forth.
And 0 says, start small. Nope, this is UTG.
Who's Jennifer Connolly?
I don't know.
Oscar Walton says in the late 1800s, they actually experimented with nitroglycerin as an engine fuel. It didn't end well. I wouldn't think that it would. Jeff Smith, as a steam fitter, I would have to say, don't be silly, people. She's an actress. Okay. I have no idea what we're talking about. This has gone off into a weird place.
I know. We're getting down to the end of the night, so maybe this is the weird hour.
This is the weird hour. Jennifer Connelly equals smoking hot actress. Okay. But how did she end? Does she have a steam powered something?
How did she enter this
I have
conversation?
no idea.
Okay, so reigning slant six with a chance.
Bigfoot
Cannibal.
time.
Huh?
Paul Capizzola saying it's Bigfoot time. This is like where the chat runs off into like
The deep end.
Right, the deep end.
Kate Moss is my favorite steam-powered actress. All right.
I hate that my channel is like just like kind of like limited to cars because it's like there is so many things that are like interesting
unfortunately, I am one of those weird people that I cannot talk about anything but cars, right? Like you get me outside of the car realm and I do not fit in society. I do not. I cannot.
Well, I used to be that way, and up until Nitro. Once I cleared Nitro, that was it. It was like I was done. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm just done.
I'm
You know
over
what I
this,
mean?
right?
I'm over this. I'm done.
Yeah. John Wilburn said, "Cars are the center of the universe." I literally cannot talk about anything else. I'm good with car stuff. I'm terrible with people stuff. Right? I am not. I'm not a people person. I'm not friendly. I'm not
Yeah.
easy to get along with.
Yeah, up until I was about 40, I had like just total tunnel vision. You know what I mean? It was just like cars, 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 cars. And then it was like after I spent like a dozen years doing the Nitro thing, and then after that, I was like, I have to find there's a whole world. I have to find out how this world works. So that's when I started studying psychology, economics, all of these different, I mean, religions and you name it. I went deep dive study into like all sorts of different fields.
I'm very much like Tony. I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm autistic, but there's one thing I gravitate towards. Even while I was in the Navy, we would pull into port. I would go to the Navy Exchange and I'd buy every magazine they had on the rack. And I would read every magazine. I would sit there in port and guys would be out smashing chicks and drinking beers and whatever and all night long, debauchery. And I'd be on the ship reading magazines and just thinking about it in my head. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Darwin Forces says nitro fumes will fry your brain. That's what happened. I mean, good possibility. Good possibility.
I had a nitro card. Did I ever tell you that? I still have my nitro card actually. I have an RC car that's gas.
Coxwell 49.
No, it's Tamiya TGX Mark One. I bought it while I was in Japan. It's a Japanese quarter scale or eighth scale road race car.
Okay.
Runs on nitro and burn dries. I had it when I was on the ship. They wouldn't let me keep the fuel on the ship.
You kidding me?
No. I had to keep the fuel off the ship.
Did they not know it's not explosive?
I have no idea. They wouldn't let me keep it on the ship.
Jerry Hablitzel, YouTube is now what magazines used to be, but better. I agree. I'm doing car magazines. This is exactly this channel, right? Literally is Cars Illustrated magazine. 30 years later, 40 years later, 30 years, 35 years later. That's literally what I'm doing. I'm doing Cars Illustrated magazine.
Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna do this as the last question of the night.
Okay.
Nate B says reading spark plugs. Some guys say you can't do it with today's modern fuels. False? Question mark.
False.
All right. Here's what I found is the big problem. Most people don't know how to read spark plugs, right? You don't stick the spark plug in, drive around for 3 months, and then pull it out and read it, right? What you're supposed to do is go out and make a pass and pull the plug, right? And then what you do is you cut the outer ring off so you can see the actual ceramic. And then then you read the plug. And then you adjust your tune from there.
Color is color. The flame, the heat inside a combustion chamber, the efficiency of the combustion process is going to be reflected on the spark plug, regardless of what fuel you use. They'll have different characteristics, but the point is there will still be a range, regardless of what fuel you're using or the type of engine that you're using. There's still going to be a range of color that's going to show up on the ceramic that's going to tell you whether you're on or not. So and that's going to be gasoline, alcohol, nitro, whatever you're going to burn. You can still read spark plugs.
I think that's the big one is people don't know how to read them anymore. You know, have you ever did a video on how to read them? How to actually read a plug?
Yes, I have actually a couple of different times I went into it, but I never did actually specific videos on how to read plugs because it runs into so many different things. Most of the people who tune into YouTube aren't really hot rod drag racing types.
Right.
They're more like, how do I tell if it's burning oil? How do I tell if it's too rich or you see what I'm saying? It's
right.
So you start running into this. You remember years ago they used to have the plug reading charts.
Right.
Like 60 fucking pictures.
Every Chilton's had it, right?
Right. So now if I do a video on plug reading, I have to cover all of that. And I don't have the. I just
remember that day that I was taking that 455 apart out of the Suburban that was knocking, and you came over and you were looking at the crank of the bearings, reading the bearings, and I'm like, something's wrong with this crank, right? It was knocking.
Right.
And then you looked at it and was like, the crank is bent, and you went, God damn, what did those plugs come out of? And they were like, that was the ones out of that 455 that were like the perfect sandy toasted marshmallow color, right?
Yeah.
And I was so proud because I spent a lot of time getting that thing tuned in, dialed in. And man, that 400 beat my ass after that. I could not get that 400 to run like that 455.
G Malone, the ground on a plug tells you the timing. Yeah, and the if you can actually count the rings of heat when you get into some serious fucking horsepower.
How many rings down on the threads are going, right? Yeah, that the timing thing on your ground strap is how far it burns back. You want it to be, the timing is ideal when it's at the curve, right? The center of the curve.
But you got to explain to them. You're talking about, like, for instance, tuning nitrous, where you're going to see where you get extreme. So you're going to see the ground strap start to fizz back a little bit, right? Where that's out of the range of what most people are going to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even if they're running a small shot, like they're running a 100 shot or something,
they'll never see that.
See that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you start pouring the nitrous oxide on, and you'll start seeing that.
All right, so we're coming to boy, tonight flew.
I know it went by pretty quick.
Holy shit. Is there anything else you want to grab before we do this?
Make sure you visit ahraonline.com, get yourself some merch, or buy membership. We're going to be at Sykeston this weekend for the Memorial Day Spectacular.
Right.
So Saturday and Sunday is performance-based payout brackets. And then guess what? We'll be back there again the following week.
Yes. And don't forget Dallas's OnlyFans page. He's just doing this thing now where he covers his bits with pepperoni.
Yeah.
Slices of pepperoni, so you want to catch that.
Really small slices of pepperoni.
Really small slices of pepperoni. So everybody who contributed with our mods, Ari John Zero, Fubar, guys, thank you so much as always. Thank you. Our affiliate channels, our associate channels, Mopar Al. If you're not sub to Mopar Al, go over and sub to Mopar Al. Daddy's Money Garage, go over there and sub to Daddy's Money Garage. 2 channels here. The AHRE Drag Racing History channel and Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. So go over there and sub to his channels. Geez, what else is there?
Well, you got 2 channels too. Go sub to Uncle Tony's Garage.
I think they already are.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
and then if you haven't subbed to Uncle Tony's Garage, his other channel is Uncle Tony Knows Stuff. Is that what it is?
Ask Uncle Tony.
Ask Uncle Tony.
But that channel's still in flux. I'm still not sure. We put a few videos on it like this last month, only just to keep it going because we were about to lose monetization on it. I haven't posted anything on it in like 6 months or so. And I'm waiting for Uncle Crystal to free up some time so we can do some videos together. So, but yeah, we've got that on the channel. Ask Uncle Tony.
Man, and you got to do something weird on that. Not even car related. I'm telling you.
We do a lot of weird. We do unrelated car videos. Did you see anything to salad the last time?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, see? Yeah, I made a salad on Ask Uncle Tony. You guys want to see how we make a salad around here? Ask Uncle Crystal. Yeah, well, yeah. I went with Uncle Crystal and my granddaughter Caitlin to a picnic this afternoon, which was just absolutely awesome. It was awesome. So that's it, guys. We're out of here. Everybody's contributed super chat. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Greatly appreciated. Everybody contributed just with your conversation and throwing your stuff in there. I appreciate you guys so much. You are all part of the greatest automotive community in all of YouTube. We crushed the other guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And don't forget, stay tuned for a steam powered something directly from Uncle Tony's garage.
Yes. I'm telling you, we're gonna do something steam. That's the next frontier. That is the next frontier.
I agree.
I'm out of here. We are out of here, guys. Let's see you tomorrow.
See you next week.